guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are digging some holes, some big ones, and I'll explain to you why in a minute. So if you like what you see today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. We also have some new shirts on our merch store, so check the link down below and go check that out if you get a minute. All right, let's check this out. All right, so this morning we did a layout. We have 3 really large footings on this job. The reason they had to be so big is for loading purposes. We have a first story deck that's 12 feet tall, and then we have a second story deck going above that. So the footing footprint has to be big. They're 30 inches by 30 inches, and they're 16 inches deep. We get a lot of comments on our footing depth. They're like, oh man, that's not very deep, doctor. What's the deal? Well, where I live in Washington State, our frost depth is not very deep. It's only 12 inches. So if we go 16, we're not gonna experience any heaving of the footing like they do in northern Canada or northern states in the central and eastern part of the country. So that's the size of our footing, which actually is still quite big, in my opinion. So now I'm gonna make some rebar cages that need to be tied together that will go into these footings for support. So that's what we're doing today. We got these 3 holes dug. We're digging 2 smaller 16 inch by 16 inch by 16 inch deep footings for the side deck, but that's only 3 feet wide. It's not supporting a whole lot of weight, so it's not that big a deal. So that's what we're up to right now. Follow along and see how we do. I want to be a few inches. This time we're gonna have to dig underneath the patio. Yeah.
Reminds me of that Allison chain song, you know, down in a hole.
Mm-hmm. As long as it's not a sewer pipe, we're good.
Don't smell anything.
Good. I don't think it'd be that shallow. If it was, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Is that a pipe or what?
I think it's an old drainage line that had concrete poured on top of it. Because it dead ends here, and there's nothing on the house that it could run back to, so I'm just taking it out of here.
Hey, I got another video idea.
Dr. Yard?
Yeah. So sometimes you gotta be a landscaper when you're a deck builder. The only reasonable access for us to get our lumber into this backyard is either through the garage or over this hedge. So I'm opting, since the homeowner was cool with it, I'm opting to back my truck right up to this hedge and off the lumber into the yard. It's probably our quickest, easiest, dirtiest way to do this. So what I'm doing is I'm just trimming the hedge down a little bit to get it to a manageable height, and then we will be able to unload everything off the truck.
Grab that in. Oh, I thought we were gonna do it something. Yes, we could.
Nah, might as well make it
Thought we had it.
Good job, guys. Thank you. Okay, give me a little bit more. Okay. Rubbery, really, because I got concrete to bring in tomorrow. Our holes are dug and they're ready for our inspection. We're waiting on Nate from Westside Concrete to bring us some wires so we can tie up our cages. So hopefully I'll get to show you that today. And now the guys are working on the side of the house. We have to take down the old ledger and kind of figure out what's going on, because usually on these older homes it's kind of a cluster mess. You know, up to 10 people maybe had built this deck at different points and times, you know, in the last 100 years. So what we got to do is strip all that stuff out and start over with something nice and clean. So that's what we're on to right now. I'm letting the guys handle that. I'm just gonna work on some other stuff while they're trying to dial this in.
Might have to probably add like a solid piece, I imagine. Cutting on this would be a way to go.
I think so. We're gonna have to split the.
Why are they having so much trouble?
It's just hodgepodge, man. Early 1900s homes. There was no rules or regulations back then, man. It was just do whatever you want, however you want to do it. And the inspections that were done were not to today's building code, so we just got a cluster mess on the house. I knew it was going to take us a day to rectify this. So even though we'll get a good jump on this today, we'll probably still be working on this tomorrow when we get our footing inspection. It's just going to take a minute for us to clean this up because it's just a mess. We're trying to figure out how to get these bolts off. The bolts, I don't know if they're carriage bolts or if they're machine bolts or if they're lag bolts, but they're trying to unscrew them and they're just spinning. They're not coming out, they're not doing anything. We tried to put some leverage on them and pull them out, so my guess is that they possibly are machine bolts, but to what? I don't think we can get into the walls to figure it out, so we're probably gonna have to cut them with a grinder and then pull all the stuff off the wall and then cut them again so that they're not in our way so that we can get a solid ledger on the house, man, because right now it's a joke. Like, we get a lot of earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest, and a good 6.0 or higher, man, and I don't think this deck would have been standing anymore.
Plant it right in it.
The underside of the siding too.
Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are starting to rebuild what we had just torn down. So exciting day. We got all our concrete poured yesterday and we're starting to frame things back up. We are setting up some posts right now. I'm starting to lay out our first ledger board that needs to go up on the house, and we're just gonna get going. So follow along and see how we do. Every 6 inches along this board. Now I'm using Fasten Master ledger locks to install this ledger to that. Whoa. You got that for a sec, Nas? Yeah.
So if we can go your way a little.
Okay, now
Now we're good?
we should.
And then I want one with a wheel on this side.
Good.
All four in one stack.
Nice.
I I do have got 8.5 inches though, so I put fasteners at 2 inches and then a little bit more, guys. Okay, whoa. Okay, now let's level it up like we did the last one. I'm getting too old for this, man. See, I've done this so many times, you gotta catch up to me, bro, so that's why you're doing it. Okay. Just hang tight there for a minute. We gotta walk it.
I really hate that.
I know. You're in a safer position than I am. Okay, so we're kind of fighting each other here. See, I need to walk you over to there. Now you gotta push down hard so that, you know. Okay, come down. Okay, stop. Now crank it back up a little. Stop. Perfect. Just leave it there. 1, 2. Right. I need to do a complete layout on the house. Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today we're framing away. We have the major portion of the deck framed. Now we're doing the side catwalk area for access, so we're getting to that. And then just tightening things up. It looks like that will fit, right?
Yeah, if you cut that last shred out.
Oh man, that's so close. Okay, so I just put one too many steps in this. I might need an 1.5-inch block. You have an 1.5-inch block? It's not bad right now. So that's awesome. Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so now we have our stair jack temped up. It needs to be risen a little bit there. I got an extra 1.1/8 gap so I can put a bull nose in front of the stair tread, which I like. All right, so I have my stair jack figured out. I got my rise and my run. This was a particular area, so I had to take some time to figure this out because we have to fit the staircase in a specific spot. So I had to figure out my rise and my run, which I've done. Now I've cut a template just to make sure that I'm on point and the template fits properly. So now I'm ready to make one more edit to this board I have to do, and then I can cut all the other stair jacks out to match this one. So I'll cut those all out at the same time using a special beam saw that I have.
Ladder only goes so high.
Somebody's got to do it.
So, sometimes in the sometimes in the construction business, you know, you forget things. We're not used to moving everything out of our trailer because we always usually have our trailer on site. But with this specific job, first day we were here, we had to take everything out of the trailer, everything we thought we needed, everything we didn't think we needed, and we're like, yeah, let's take it out anyway. We put it in this garage. Well, somehow we've got multiple sizes of G-tape. I went to go G-tape. We don't have the 2-inch, and the 2-inch is like, you have one size of G-tape, you gotta have the 2-inch, and somehow we don't have it. So Jason had to go back to the house to pick that up, so not fun, but we'll figure it out, and we got to get it done before tomorrow because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and G-tape does not stick to wet joists.
So are you just supposed to stay busy?
Yeah, we stay busy. I mean, I'm sure we could hang out on Instagram all day, but we won't. No.
We had to take this out. Our notch was off. And this one wasn't graded. So all of our joists are graded by height to here. And this is our shortest one, and this one was too tall. So we had to take a notch out to sit it on the beam so our joist would plane. The notch wasn't deep enough, so we just had to end up taking it out. And we'll take that notch deeper and it'll sit down, and then we can attach our rim.
Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today we're framing away. We're framing on our upper level deck. We have our main deck, and then we're putting another one on top of that. And to get a framing inspection so that we can start laying decking, we have to finish this frame first so that we can get the inspection so that we can continue building. All right, so we have our house cleaned up, and we put G-tape on the house, and G-tape's a waterproof membrane tape to protect the side of the house in case any moisture ever gets back here, which hopefully it won't. Now I've chalked a line with my chalk line, and I've put it 1 1/8 inches below the level of the door. Now this door has a slight crown in it. So the reason I go 1 1/8 inches is because our decking is 1 inch thick, and I like to have about 1/8 inch of play so that my board will definitely fit underneath this door. If it doesn't fit under this door, we're in trouble. So that's ready to go. I've got my chalk line done. Now what I have to do is figure out a length of the ledger that I want, cut it down, and then I have to lay it out and put all the fasteners on it, and then we'll get that installed. After that's done, then we can figure out the elevation of our posts and kind of get those cut and start framing up this deck. That's awesome. For a sec. Okay. Now. The water's got to go somewhere. See what I'm saying?
Because the decking's gonna butt in.
Right.
Wouldn't we want it to drain on top of the Dexter dry and off instead of
We do, but it's still going to want to go this way. It's still going to want to go here and down. So we got to create a spot. Awesome. So we have our ledger board installed now. It's right there. So we have it set to width and height, and we have all of our ledger locks installed in it. So the next step is we're going to justify elevation by using our Stabila LAR 350. And then once we level that out, we'll be able to figure out the height of our two posts, what they need to be to continue building this deck. So there's a little bit of a funky roof line on this house. The deck is being shoehorned in between these two little offset roofs. It's just a detail that they did back in the day, but they weren't sealed up real well. A lot of the lap siding on this house didn't even lap. It just was butting into this, so there's a potential leak there, and somebody had butt into them and caulked them and just did some really funky stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a piece of AZEK multi-width dark hickory to here, because that's the trim color of our deck anyways. And we're gonna dry this in, and we're gonna put some Z-metal behind here to make this fit proper, because our deck's being waterproof. So if any water comes this way and then it hits this, it drains down and it doesn't rot it out, because it'll be in AZEK instead of in traditional cedar or wood products. So because of that, I don't have those products here today. I'll bring those tomorrow. We'll frame some of the rest of the part of our deck today, and then we'll get to that tomorrow, and then we can put up our doubles on the outside edges of the deck. So we have our posts in place for the upper deck. They're all braced in and ready to go. We have a process that we're gonna do to get this beam from the ground to the main level, and then shift it so we can get it from the main level to the second level. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Wish us luck. Okay, I'm gonna let go. All right. Yeah, drag it towards you. 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2. 3. It's getting close to the. I don't know about this. Yeah. This is scary. See, yeah. See if you can push the whole thing. I might need you, boy. Yeah, just see what you can do. Yeah, that's good. Can you keep doing it, or are you there?
You're starting to slip off the...
Oh, we're slipping?
Yeah, you might just come back up here and grab the middle.
You want him to go down anymore?
You can come down here, yeah.
I just think on 3 we should pick it up and move it over as far as we can till it hits this. What do you think?
This way, you mean, or this way?
I was thinking in.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, now we got to take it towards Mackenzie.
Ready?
1, 2. Good job.
Yeah.
6 more inches. 1, 2. Okay. Okay, watch Nazi's foot. Okay, guys, good job.
Got her whipped.
Whew. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we're framing away. We are getting close to finishing our framing on this deck, and we've called for a framing inspection. Just have a few blocks to install for our railing and a couple other things, so follow along. All right, let's check it out. So what you see there is called a lateral tension device. They're required by code for every deck we build now in the state of Washington. I think it's nationwide, but at least I know in our state we have to use them. What they do, you attach it to a joist, and then you attach it to the inside of the house. So in an earthquake, the joists don't have a tendency to pull away and collapse, or in other circumstances where there might be a lot of people on the deck and you get a lot of lateral motion. They kind of help keep things tight to the wall. So instead of the whole deck wanting to go away from the wall, that device is supposed to be attached to your joist and then attached to a member inside the house so that it does not break away. So we have 6 of them installed on this project, 4 on the lower deck and 2 on the upper deck. And you'll see those in different locations depending on where the device is needed and how close to the edge of the house we are.
Didn't you film me doing this last time too?
Yes.
Well, in case you guys didn't watch the video last time, this is a product called Dexter Dry. and it's basically just a rubber spline that fits in between our AZEK decking. So you see the AZEK decking has this groove. The Dexter drive fits perfectly with these little ridges. They kind of like grab on. So you got that, like, I don't know, what is that, quadruple protection there, these little flanges here. So anytime you've got to, when you install it, you've got to use a mallet and make sure it seats perfectly and fully, otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose. But as you can see on the back side here, once water gets here, it should, and if you've installed this correctly and like fasten the boards tight against each other, should just run through this spline, and then we'll create like a little, we've got a little pitch in the deck, so it'll just ideally just shoot off out. And if you have any water go in here, you've got those little quadruple little flanges on the side, which Dexter Drive puts in to really make sure that you're not going to get any water into your framing. We're doing softening on this deck too, so that would be bad if we got water on the softening because it stains the cedar or pine, whatever we're using. So yeah, it's a pretty easy system. We really like it. The only trick is you got to use groove decking boards. So check it out, Dexter Drive. I believe their slogan is "We're on a roll." Very cheesy. Oh yeah, that's my.
All right, so our building inspector just showed up and he signed off our framing inspection. So now all we have left for inspections is our final. So now we're able to go ahead and deck out, get all our railing done, all our trim, everything else is ready to go. All right, here we go. Okay, now how deep do we need to go? Okay. All right, so now I'm getting ready to start installing my staircase. I have to add some support. I'm going to tie into this beam. I'm going to tie into this double outside rim joist right here, but I need to hang a block down and notch it. So I'm going to take a 6x6 and notch 3 1/8 inches out of it, and then I'm going to attach that to the back side of this double, and then screw that to that, and that'll be how I hang my stairs from this deck.
How many of these have you done?
25, I think. It's not too bad. Thankfully, we're only doing this on the top deck. The lower deck's much larger, so I'll probably be here for a while. We could turn this into a new segment. Dexter Drive with Z-Deck Man.
You can do a catchier one than that.
I was trying to think of one earlier. I don't know. Dexter Drive. I don't know.
With your dude?
With your dude? That's all I can think of.
Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are working on our upper deck. We have it all laid, and now we're going to install all the trim work. It's a waterproof Dexter Drive deck. Basically, yesterday we were able to, it's a 14 foot by 16 foot. We used a waterproof gasket called Dexter Dry to put in between the groove boards in the decking, and when it's compressed, it creates a waterproof space underneath. So now that that's done, we have all the end grains to wrap, and we have the fascia to do, and it's a really tall deck, so we're gonna hang everything from the top and then kind of go from there with it. So that's what's up on today's task. We gotta leave early today, so it'll be a short video, but follow along and see what you think. You can leave your comments below. We'll try to get back to you as much as possible. Oh yeah. New tool alert. This is a Fasten Master fusion lock gun. It shoots 5 clips. It loads 10 clips and it'll shoot 5 clips sequentially. And there's a rack right here that holds a set of scrails, and a scrail is a screw nail. So it fires in like a traditional gun, but it has a barbed curve on it like a screw. That's why they call it a scrail. It's a screw nail. So here's a rack of scrails. So they shoot in with a pneumatic gun, and these are star drives, so you can actually remove them if you need to with a star drive bit. I think it's a T15, but I'm not 100% sure. And then here's the clip that loads into the gun, and that shoots in to your joist and holds the decking together with the grooves. You use the groove of the gun, excuse me, you use the groove of the board, and you shoot these over every joist, and they lock in the deck board, and then you just put the next deck board in and off you go. You just keep going and going. It's a quick way to do a hidden fastener on a deck. I'm gonna move these into the shade. All right, so what I've done is I did a layout on this board, and I took my tape and then I took a pre-drill, a smart bit, but I'm just using the drill head just to identify where my holes need to go. And I've done that for this entire piece. Now that that's done, I'm gonna take some color match, stainless steel color match screws, and I'm going to pre-put all these screws in for the guys, because it's a lot easier to do it now on the ground than it is when you're trying to hang the board. It goes a lot quicker if I do the pre-planning down here. So I'm just going to just start them with the drill so they stick. And that way if I bump the board, these screws don't fall out, or as I'm carrying it up, they don't fall out. You don't have to go a whole bunch. As a matter of fact, if you go too much, they'll stick out through the bottom. Like that one's sticking out a little bit. You got to be careful, because if you drag them on a good surface, it could be an issue. Then this board's ready to go, and I'll start cutting the next piece, and then what they'll do is once they hang this one, they'll give me a measurement for the next short piece that has to be done, and then I'll lay that one out and hand it back up to them. So it's kind of a revolving thing where I'm cutting and laying out the boards, or my guys upstairs are installing them. Makes for a pretty efficient way of getting it done. All right, so now we have our main pieces of fascia up. We have our 1.5 inch shim and then our full piece hanging down from there. The next step is we have one last detail to do, and we have to add some little spacers to the ends of the deck. And then once we add those spacers in for drainage, then we can add our last beauty cap to cover up all the end grains on the deck. Hey guys, Dr. Dexter. Today we're installing some TimberTech AZEK decking. We're using a new system made by Fasten Master called a Fusion Lock. So if you like what you see today, you're learning a little something about hidden fasteners or how we install deck boards, don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we're putting out new content. All right, let's get going. All right, so this is the Fasten Master Fusion Lock gun. It shoots a special clip that's designed for AZEK decking, and there's 5 in a set. And you load those into this gun right here through this track. And these are brand new guns, so they're a little tough to load until they wear in a little bit. And then you pull this spring back, and now you're locked and loaded. And then there's a coil of nails, they're called scrails, that you shoot through the gun, and you're able to make quick installation of this type of hidden clip. So this is the gun, you gotta have the gun, you gotta have the scrails, you gotta have the clips, and you do 5 at a time, and it's really efficient, especially when there's 3 guys running at the same time. It went well. You know, we had a couple bumps in the road, but we figured it out with 3 guys and 3 guns. And once the guns are dialed in, it's a very quick, easy system to use. And now, because we ran the decking from the outside of the deck in, because I always like to finish on a full board whenever I can. The guys are going back and they have to hand screw the last couple boards in place. But it's, again, not that big a deal. There's specialty tools that we use to do that. So we're just taking the time, get it done, and then I can cut this line and we'll be able to start laying the other half of this deck. Okay, so now we're to the point where the guns will no longer fit up against the house. So we have these special hand tools that go along with the guns, and the guys are using those to install, thank you, the same set of clips goes into this hand tool. Again, you see the little arrows on them? Those are always facing forward. So you put those and you load it into the back of this right here, like so. And then you just click it forward, and then your first clip's ready to go. Then the screw goes down through the top of this, and they have these special bits that you use to drive the screw in, so for those tighter locations. So that's where we're at, where the gun's not gonna fit up against the house, and we have to use these now to finish the install of the last couple boards. Okay.
No.
A little bit more. I just thought it might be easier if I stuck it in now. I could be wrong. Or I could be right. Okay, I gotta come towards you. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today I am framing up a set of stairs, as you can see. The guys are starting to trim out the deck. We have all the decking laid and installed and cut and sanded and filed, so it's looking good. They're gonna start running an alternate color trim around it, and I am going to start actually adding some trim to the side of this staircase and putting in some treads. All right, so what I've done, this was a really specific set of stairs. It had to fit in a very limited rise and run. So I had to calculate all that information out to figure out how tall were my steps, how deep did I have to make them, that kind of thing. Plus with the limits of the materials we have, we had to try to figure all that out. So also to code, we have to have a 3-foot landing space at the base of your stairs. So my first step I had to make flush with this brick so that it calculated out to that 3-foot landing area. So I'm actually waiting for the building inspector because I have a question about my rail set and where I can run it and where I should stop it. If I can actually run it down onto that 3-foot area, or if I have to hold it back, which means I have to frame in some additional post supports, and it will change everywhere I do my layout. So with that being said, I'm kind of waiting on him to show up, and then we'll go from there. So until he does, I'm just going to start cutting some parts and pieces that I need to see if I can't kind of assemble some stuff while I'm waiting for him. So once I figured out the rise and the run and how I wanted to cut out my stair jacks, I cut all my jacks out, or stringers. What I found is on the East Coast, you guys like to call these things stringers, and on the West Coast, I guess they call them stringers too. So why do I call them stair jacks? I really don't know, but that's always what I've called them, so that's what I'm going to continue to call them. And then you can just comment below and tell me they're called stringers, okay? I already know that. But now that my stair stringers are cut and installed, what we did was we cut the width that we wanted the staircase to be out of 2x material, and we attached one piece to the nose of every stair tread. And what that does is it really magnifies the strength of the staircase. I don't know why more people don't do this, but to each his own. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out a couple things, but now that I have this done, I'm probably gonna G-tape this because this is all exposed to the elements. So the G-tape will help keep the staircase from rotting away. So I'm gonna get that done right now, and then I'll be able to start mocking things up until the inspector gets here. I'm starting to lay out fascia boards for the guys for upstairs, but we have our first layer of fascia done. Now we're putting a step fascia in, so now we're doing our second layer. Just to finish it up, if you take a look up there, you'll see the first layer up, and now we're getting ready to do the second layer. So I'm the layout guy, and I try to prep the boards and then they hang them. So it's kind of like I'm trying to stay ahead of them if I can. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. So I know I've talked about this before, but when you have screws and you face them all the same direction, it makes things really fast when you're installing. So this is a quick tip for you. I always face my screws. I'll just grab a bunch, put them in, kind of get them all in a pile like this, and then I'll take all the screw heads that are facing one way and I'll flip them around so that all the screws are in the same direction. And then I put them all in my pocket, all facing the same way. and then when I grab all my screws, they're all facing the same direction, and it just makes it quick. You can finger through your screws really fast when you're trying to set up for production and you're just trying to get everything prepped for your guys. It just makes things go really quick. So always face your screws. So you know it's a good day when you grab a pile of screws out of your pocket and you have exactly the right amount for the holes that you've drilled that you need to lace this board up. So I just happen to grab the right amount of screws. I got 2 left and I got 2 holes left. Unless I drop one of these. Sweet. Doesn't happen every day like that. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are working on this deck, trying to run some trim work, finishing up some stairs, buttoning up a few loose ends, making some new parts for some water intrusion areas. So we got 3 guys doing 3 different things. We've got our staircase pretty much buttoned up. I got Mackenzie is making some trim pieces for the tops of our column wrap, and I'm finishing up a few trim boards that need to be done for the main deck. So I'm almost there on that. Then I think we're gonna start wrapping posts. So follow along and see how we do. I gotta rip them down. Like the first 2 had worked that way, but then when you turn it, I gotta cut them down to 6.5. I'll make 2 more while you're... So we do have some wow, and it actually kind of fits
The whole thing, huh?
without. All right, so our electricians just showed up and they've finished pre-wiring the upper deck. You can kind of see the wires up in there for some lighting. So that's done before we soffit that up and cover it up. So they'll have an inspection for that on Monday. Right now, the guys are creating some post wraps for the posts. So we're gonna take these pressure treated posts and we're gonna wrap them in matching decking products. So that looks really nice. And we're gonna set up a few other things. It looks like I short ordered some materials, so I'm a little bummed about that. So we can get some things done today and other things we can't. But the good news is, I just got back from picking up all of our railing components, so we can get started on that as well. So we'll have plenty to do. We're just a little bit out of order right now because I'm short on supplies. But besides that, we're just gonna keep doing what we can and deal with this crazy weather, and then hopefully get a full day out of it. And then next week should be, once we get all our supplies in, should be smooth sailing. All right, so I thought I'd talk to you guys a little bit about the Dexter dry system. And the deck below us is a standard deck install, and if you pour water on the deck, it drips. But the deck up here, we actually used a waterproof spline product called Dexter Dry. And Dexter Dry goes in between the grooves of a grooved deck board, so we have to pitch the deck. So this deck up here has an 1/8 inch of drainage per foot. So it makes the water run this way. The deck boards are still running like this, okay? But we've compressed this waterproof spline in between the grooves, and then we face screw the deck, and we use Cortex, which you've heard a lot about. Cortex is a hidden fastening system by Fasten Master. And I just wanted to show you guys the underside, the reward of why we do that. Because this deck is completely dry right here. Okay? The reason there's some water over here is because the lower deck hangs out further than the upper deck, so obviously just rains on there, and it collects a little bit of water on the edge. But for all intents and purposes, there's a 14-foot by 16-foot area of their deck now that's covered and dry. They can keep their furniture out here and it stays really nice. We're gonna add softening to the underside of this deck, and it's gonna look really pretty when we're finished. And then they're gonna have some lights, some can lights brought in from the electricians, and you can do all that kind of stuff with a waterproof deck that you normally wouldn't be able to do. So there's two different types of waterproofing that we do. Well, there's three actually. There's three different types. One is Dexter Dry, two is a waterproof bladder system, and three is we would actually use a different decking material like a waterproof aluminum plank, which we haven't been doing too much of since we can now use TimberTech and AZEK with the Dexter Dry product and deliver a matching set of decks. Everything's the same. There's so much continuity, so much beauty going on. Another thing I wanted to show you guys, because I do get this question a lot, what's it look like from the underside? Well, we didn't care as much on this particular job because you're not gonna see it. But if you look up, you can see what Dexter Dry looks like from the underside of the deck. And it's a really nice look, in my opinion. I like the way it looks. It's a nice finish. You really don't have to do anything else to the frame if you don't want to. If you're just looking for a space on your deck where you want to capture some dry area down below, it's a pretty good option. If you start running a lot of surface borders or patterns and all that kind of stuff, Dexter Dry may not be the right answer for you. But if you're doing just a simple 10 by 20, 12 by 20, the Dexter Dry comes in a roll, a 240-foot roll, so it'll work on any deck board length, 12, 16s, or 20s, or if you happen to get longer decking that's grooved, and they make several different profiles for several different makes of product. So just wanted to get back with you guys on that. I really like this space. This is gonna look great. We're gonna get these posts wrapped, get those finished off. So this will be a completely finished off space. I'm gonna start getting some cable rail going, get the posts up here, get everything set for Monday. So when we come in, we can finish wrapping posts and then start running our cable. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we are trimming out the deck. We're wrapping some posts, or wrapping some beams, and then we're waiting on materials, so we might shift gears and head over and start installing some hand railing. We have Mackenzie and Nazee over wrapping some posts, and I'm prepping a beam for wrap as well. So we have just enough material to get one more post wrapped, and then we're waiting on supplies till tomorrow, unfortunately. It is what it is. And then, so to keep us busy for the rest of the day, we're gonna probably start setting some cable rail posts. It'll just keep us busy for the rest of the day until our supplies show up tomorrow.
Words of wisdom or what? The theme of the day already, and it's only like 10 o'clock, is perseverance, because we tried putting these up on Friday, but it started really pouring on us, and these guys gave us a lot of trouble. So a job we thought was going to take us just a couple hours is taking us a day, probably and a half. So we'll get this done. We got one more post that we could wrap with what we have material-wise. Yeah, I mean, it's Monday. Stuff happens. You know?
All right, so the client wants us to wrap the beams and posts, right? So we have these metal brackets that are kind of in our way for being able to attach some things. So what we do is we take a router and we route out the area that these bolts, mostly it's for these bolts, and I could probably just drill 3 holes and drill out where those bolts are, but then there's still this 1/8" plate. So we just route it out like this. And then when we put this together, it sits nice and flat so that we don't have any issues with the metal.
So that tops it off.
Stuff we get from a local place around where we're from. So I'm just gonna spray a little bit here, spray a little bit there. Just using my thumbnail here. It works pretty good. It dissolves it up real nice. Does not damage the finish of the plank at all. I already did one up here. I thought maybe somebody might be able to use that. We have the post wrap that we can because we're short on materials today. So what the guys are doing now is they're putting a small detail wrap around the beveled top cap that we did. It's mostly for looks, and it does look really good. We're butt joining all of our parts because miters, we just believe, will not stay together over the long term. And then once they're done with that, they're going to do a matching one down below in a thicker material, just again for looks. So once those are done, then the post wraps are finished. So we'll get 4 of those done today, maybe 5 if we're lucky. Plus we'll have the beam wrapped, and then we just have 2 left to do once we receive supplies tomorrow. You there?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that looks good. When we're trimming a deck, you'll see a lot of butt joints instead of miters. With PVC decking and cap composites, miters don't stay together as well as butt joints do. Everybody's different, but that's just the way we do it. In the Pacific Northwest, things move a lot. As they do in other parts of the country as well, I realize that. But we get just as hard of a temperature shift in Washington State as you do in Florida or California or anywhere else in the country. So what we do a lot is we will stop our boards, and then I'll put like a beauty cap on the end of this. But when you cut PVC, usually the core color is a different color than the outside. So what I do is I get color matched end grain paint. I usually just go to Home Depot, and then I file and I paint the end grains of the sides of my board that I'm about to install, so they don't look like this. Instead, they're filed and have a nice detail. This is still wet, it's still drying. But as you go around this deck, you'll pick up on the subtlety nuances of all of our butt joints as you go around, and you'll see those. So we just do our best to make them as attractive as possible. There's another method I've been messing around with where I actually cut the skin, the capstock, I cut the capstock right off the outside edge of the board, and then I'll glue it to the outside edge of whatever board I'm trying to conceal. But it's very time consuming, and there's a budget for everything. So if I have it in the budget, I'll take the time and do stuff like that. But if it's not, then I just have to produce as well. So that's what this is all about, is making it look as good as we can, and then be able to cap this off like this, just so it looks really nice. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we're running cable, getting a lot of our finishing touches done. We also have our softening on site, so we're cutting all that to length. So basically, we have a lot of our cable posts are in. I'm working on the top caps right now, and then we're gonna start cinching, cutting, and tightening our cables. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And then, I don't know, we might get some softening running today, I'm not sure. So just follow along and see how we do. But for now, I gotta get back on these top caps. Scratches.
Yeah, you can just...
All right, so the company that we purchased this cable from, they sent along a stick of anti-seize. It's made by Loctite, and it just helps when you're threading stainless steel parts that they won't gall. If you've ever had a piece of stainless gall to another piece of stainless, it basically welds itself to it and becomes unusable. So I put a little bit of anti-seize on each one of these ends, and because we're working on a set of stairs, there's some angled washers that will go onto the end of our cinching nut, and they go up at an angle so they sit up flat against the post like that. So stairs are a little bit more complicated, and what I do is I give it a good 2, 3, 4 turns, and then I thread everything through the hole, and then the washer sits like that. So it's a really nice look, and it allows us to cinch and tension from this post. So we'll get into tensioning later, but right now I'm just prepping all these lines and kind of getting them threaded out of the way so that I can finish my top cap for this section of the down rail, and then we'll be able to continue on to the next step. Does fit good. All right, so now I have all my top caps installed on the deck, or at least on the main deck. We haven't done the upper deck yet, but now it's time to kind of pre-tension our cable and mark where we need to cut all of the cable for length so that we can start tensioning the lines. So what I've done is I take a pair of vice grips, a duckbill pair of vice grips, and I cinch down onto the cable, and then I put a shim in here to give it a little bit of tension. It's not a lot of tension. It kind of makes it so it's not loose as if just like these are hanging out here. So I don't have to sit here and try to push hard on these. Then what I could do is I take a Sharpie and I assemble one of my tensioning devices over here. And I know that this one will basically, I can go up to this point right here with my cable, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna kind of eyeball where I need to cut this, just like that. And then I can cut it, and once I do that, I guess I can just do one real quick. Get that out of the way. Twist it, that looks pretty good. I like my length. So now, the end of this fitting is spring-loaded. So once you push this onto the cable, it has a set of grippers that grips the cable and it will not come out. You have to use a special tool to remove the wire if you need to readjust this. So now that I've cinched this back the way I want it, I'll take this, push this on, it's all the way, and now it will not come off as hard as I pull. And then I'm going to take this part off, run this over to here, there we go. That one's ready to be tightened. So I got to do that 9 more times, and then we'll be ready to cinch this run. So let's just say I made a mistake, or I need to loosen this up again. Before I tension it, I need to get this off this cable. They have this little device that you can hook around your wire and push in, and it'll allow you to take off your part. So only before you tension. Once you're tensioned, you can't do that. But it's kind of a neat thing. If I don't like the length of this, or how far it goes in, I can pull this, recut my cable, put this back on, and start over again. So I did do a double check. I thought, you know what? I could probably shorten this up a little bit more, because I'm basically crossing over on all of my threads before I even get tight. So I think what I'm gonna do is shorten this wire a little bit more, and then it'll be the perfect length. So to do that, all I gotta do is put this special tool in here and push out. It's spring loaded on the inside, and that releases the tension, and then I can pull it off. Pretty handy little tool. Don't lose it though until you're done with the project.
What do you think? Looking good? So-so? Yeah.
These are a lot easier to install when the cable's loose. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. So today, we're done with the deck, but now we have a couple of entry gates and fence panels to put up. So we're digging all the holes, we're moving roots, we're cutting through stuff, and it's been quite a challenge, but we're almost there. So Naziz's digging some holes right now. We're gonna set some posts in concrete, and I don't know how far we're gonna get on these fence panels today, but it's made by Regal Ideas, so give them a follow, check them out. The inspector just came by, he signed off on our deck. We are legit, it's good to go. So now I can obtain final payment. So everything looks good on the deck. So now we're just focusing on these fence panels and massive cleanup. So there you go.
Just digging post hole footings for we're using the Regal Ideas fence, which is cool. I've never done a Regal Ideas fence before. They make fences along with railing for decks, so the homeowner did not like her previous fence, which was kind of wobbly and the gate wasn't fitting and it was rotting out. So we're digging these post holes. Probably going to set our posts today, pour some concrete, and then maybe if it sets by the end of the day, we could start putting stuff on them. Otherwise, I'm thinking Monday we'll put the rails on and finish this gate up, and that'll be the last thing to do on this project.
Put your end down. Smarter, not harder.
Brace it.
Okay. All right, so we have our Regal Ideas privacy pool wall post, and I have a few strings set up. One's to keep all the bottoms in line with one another, and then I did another line at the top, so they're in line, and then I had to do one to elevation as well. Once this is set in place, if they're too tall, they're really hard to cut down accurately, so I wanted to put them to elevation as well. So I have an elevation string, a side string, and then another side string down below, just to keep everything in plumb. So now it's a nice straight line, so when we go to install all this stuff, our posts are gonna be locked and loaded and ready to go. So the concrete's too wet to work on today, so we're just gonna leave it where it is, and then we'll leave it overnight, and then we'll come back tomorrow and start installing the side rails. Okay.
done mixing concrete, we put water in the concrete mixer, and then find somewhere kind of indiscreet to clean it out and make sure there's no concrete left. But in this wheelbarrow, I had maybe like a quarter of a bag concrete left, and it was too much to just dump anywhere because it would solidify. So I figure I'd put it on this piece of plywood here, let it get solid, and then that way I can take it, haul it up in the truck and dump it. So, concrete pancakes right now.
Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we're putting up some gates and security walls made by Regal Ideas. They're a 5-foot high pool wall is what they're called. And we're using them for like a front entry gate security kind of thing. So it looks a little more secure from the front, kind of updating the client a little bit. What I've done so far today, last week, we mounted the posts in the ground in concrete. So they have a couple days to cure. And now I've pre-constructed the gates. Regal Ideas makes a 5-foot high gate kit to go with the 5-foot high walls. And from there, I mounted the hinges. And I've mounted the latch as well. And now what I'm doing is I'm putting the two sections together to make this a complete fence. So basically, it's just like running the Regal Ideas other railing that they have, any standard rail section, it's just taller. So it's a good looking system, it's efficient, it's cost effective, and we really like using it. So what I'm gonna do now is I've kind of pre-had, like you can see over here, there's no spacers, no pickets, anything in it. So what I'll do is, I have all the pickets in this section I need. Now I'm gonna space it out and kind of lay it out a little bit. Then I'll put in the picket spacers and lock everything together. So that's what we're up to right now. So there's two ways to run spacers and pickets in your railing. One way is to find the center point of a picket in the middle of your run. That's what I did on this gate. I started with the middle picket and then I ran spacers on each side. On the side of this, I've decided to run a spacer first and then my pickets. Because if I don't, then I'm gonna have a really tight gap on the ends and I want more of an equal gap. So that's what I'm gonna do now, is figure out where this spacer goes. That's pretty close to center. Oop. Now that I have center figured out, I just add a picket spacer and snap it in. They go in pretty easy. Usually you can do them by hand. Sometimes if things get a little tight, you can use a mallet and just kind of tap things out of the way. This build was very tall. We had a lot of hard lifting to do on this project. From the ground to the top deck is about 13 feet, maybe 14 feet, and then another 9 feet to the top of the deck after that. So we're 22, 23 feet to the top of the upper deck. The main deck was framed in 2x12. In Washington State, we have to build to a 60 pound per square foot live load, which means we had to increase the size of our joist framing to span 14 feet. It's 14 inches on center. So that's kind of the construction part of the frame. The beams are 6x12. They span about 16 feet total, about 13 feet in between posts. Our client decided she wanted to get the posts wrapped. She thought it'd be a nice look, and she was right. That's done in AZEK Coastline multi-width decking. It's a 7 1/4 inch board right here. And then we did a little dark hickory detail on the tops and bottoms. My favorite part about the post wraps is the very top. We did a chamfered, like a 10-degree bevel, so the water drains off it, because we knew that we were going to have issues of water getting into the post if we didn't do something on top of the post to prevent it from going in. So let's go upstairs and check out some stuff up there. The staircase was very particular. We had to kind of shoehorn it into place. I was only allowed to do a certain rise and a certain run because it had to fit into this area. We opted not to tear out the landing, so our bottom stair is actually flush with the existing landing. Very narrow because we have a 5-foot setback on the side yard for access. So we were only allowed to come out 3 feet. So that's where this comes into play and why we were only allowed so much distance. Cable railing for the entire deck. This is by American Metal Specialties. Very nice product, super stable, super sturdy, and you'll kind of see that throughout the project as we go up. So the stairs we trimmed out in dark hickory, and the main color, the field color, is Coastline, and with dark hickory risers and fascia on the ends, on all the sides, all the way around the deck. So we also built an upper deck above the main level. It's a 14 by 16. It's waterproofed with a product called Dexter Dry. It's grooved AZEK decking with a waterproof spline in between the boards that's compressed and screwed down, and then Cortexed after that. So we were able to put a soffit in. So the only thing left to do on this upper deck is cut in some softening vents, and I'll do that next week so that the deck can breathe a little bit. Besides that, that's all buttoned up and finished. The client's gonna have a clear coat put on the pine. It's a tongue and groove pine that we installed for the softening, and then we trimmed it out in the matching AZEK colors. With the Dexter Dry being installed on that upper deck, there was no other means necessary as far as sway. This deck does not move at all. It is completely locked together because of all those extra compression splines. When they're put in and they're compressed, the boards do not want to do this. They do not move. Everything's face screwed. I was surprised at how stable that upper deck is and locked in. Then by adding the softening, we're adding another layer of nails. So very secure, very stable. Again, same details on the posts with the top wraps and the bottom wraps. One of my favorite parts of this deck is where the cable rail comes through this post. It took me a very long time to figure this out. It wasn't easy, it was hard to drill, and we had to thread wire through each hole before we could feed the cable through. So it took some time, but I think it was worth it in the end. The end result is beautiful. It's a really unique look, and a lot of people will enjoy it for many years as far as visual. So this is a really nice space. It's a 14 by 30 with a 14 by 16 up here, plus the 3 foot by 16 foot side access, because the only way out on the deck is through a side door off that 3 foot area, a slider. So the decking was attached with Fasten Master's Fusion Lock 5-shot. So a hidden fastener, and then we actually Cortex the outside edges of the deck. So that will just minimize the movement, and we're really happy with the way that turned out. Really beautiful, super stable, feels super comfortable, and gives them enough room to really enjoy each other, their family, and this beautiful Tacoma view. So thank you so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when we're putting out new content. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.